The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all. Good evening. You are listening to a Radulich and Broadcasting premier podcast TV party tonight. I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And we are continuing our journey from the corner to the deuce, examining the great works of David Simon. And joining me today, he's harder to get at than my fat wife's cunt. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Juicy J, Jesse Starcher. How do you do, sir?
Decided to go with it, didn't you?
just call me Fat Face Rick.
Oh my goodness!
All right, for anyone that's just like, what the fuck? No,
Yeah.
I'm not referring to anyone I actually know. That's a line from season 3 of The Wire. Fat Face Rick says that to Stringer Bell, which we talked about last month.
Fat Face Rick.
Fat Face
My
Rick
goodness.
in the house.
Wow, oh wow.
I don't know
Mark
why
Radulich.
that line stuck out at me the way that it did, but it still makes me laugh every time I was talking to my girlfriend today, and I was like, she watched me giddily talk about The Wire because I told her we were doing this tonight, and I actually told her I would open up with that line, and I said I was debating it because of the same reason I told you. It's like, Jesus Christ, if you hear that out of context, you're like, wait, what? She's like, yeah, I don't think you can get away with that. Can't tell me what to do. But
It's true.
She got to hear me just blurt out a whole bunch of different Wire quotes. This particular season that we're going to talk about tonight, season 4, How's She Chicken Joe? Those exchanges between Omar and Prop Joe at the end of the season are fucking hilarious.
It's good stuff. It really is good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Omar's got some classics. He's always got Prop Joe and Omar both. When you listen to how they talk, they sound like prophets almost in some ways. It's fun to listen to, especially those two on the same screen. I mean, my goodness.
I remember watching like one of the documentary featurettes about the making of The Wire and how there's almost like a pidgin, pig Latin. It's not quite Southern, not quite Northern. It's so apparently the Baltimore slang and the Baltimore accent. It's a very weird thing. It's almost like a Creole, but not quite. But even in the sense that like Creole is this amalgamation of different languages and whatnot. You know, if you hear some of these guys, the way that they talk and some of the ways that they say things, and it's unlike anything you've ever heard before. It's almost a foreign language.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think we pointed out when we were watching Homicide, it was the first time I ever heard Baltimore as Balmer.
Right.
I mean, yeah, they've got their own language. You're right. It's
right.
Their own code for that they've lived in the city. And their own dialect, if you will.
I have copped so much of my like slang speech patterns from The Wire.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I have told people I don't get shook.
Ah, nice.
Which I stole directly from Michael in this season.
I
don't get shook. I've used the term, doesn't he have a rabbi? Stole that from season 2. So much of The Wire
hasn't infiltrated me like that. I can tell you, I don't think I've used too much from what I've been entertained, but I haven't grasped on. Of course, I haven't watched it as much as you have, but regardless, it is very entertaining to watch this. This small part of America and how these people talk to each other.
So we've done the first 3 seasons, and I think when you stopped, because we decided we were going to do all of the David Simon shows from Homicide to I think the last one was The Deuce. Let's go back and look again. It was either it was definitely Show Me a Hero was definitely before The Deuce, and I feel like that was the last one before We Own This City, which we already covered. When we decided we were going to do all of the David Simon shows season by season over a 2-year period, you stopped watching The Wire. This is about where you stopped, yeah?
Yeah, dude. I had, I think it was episode 9. I want to say,
wow, you were almost 9. Done.
Yeah, I was really close to being done. So I sent you a picture where it was like 4 days after COVID had really, like, the lockdown happened. Okay. So I stopped right at 9, and I don't know if it was the matter of just like finding other things to watch at that point in time or what, but so it was like March 19th of 2020, something around there. So that was episode 9, and then I hadn't watched anything since then. Of course, during this project got me to rewatching and watching again with my wife. So yeah, just a couple days ago, we picked up finally into some new episodes that I hadn't seen.
Right. So give me your just kind of general, we'll as we've done with the previous 3 seasons, we'll get into some of the more picayune details. This season focuses on education.
Right.
The first 2 seasons were very singularly thematically focused. Three's got some thematic focus, but it's a little all over the place. There's a lot of stuff that's being introduced, and it's the second best season overall of The Wire, but it's also probably the most unwieldy in terms of like trying to describe it to people. There's just so much going on in season 4.
There really is.
Season 4 goes back to, in at least the thematic sense, being hyper focused. It is almost exclusively about the education system in the city of Baltimore. And then, outside of that, there's some stuff with Carcetti and City Hall and some of the inner workings of that. But for the most part, it's mostly centered on the education system and the 4 new junior high actors. Sorry. You call and you text people when you actually got shit done, and then they want to talk to you when you're recording.
You want a podcast? Let's talk.
Yeah, it's kind of. When I didn't pick up the phone call, that should have been a clue. Anyway, but I wanted to get your kind of general thoughts about season 4, and then I have a very specific question for you.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. I mean, again, like you said, it's a focus on the struggles of the education system with the inner city youth. And I have never, ever, not one bit wanted to be a teacher after watching this show. No.
Yeah.
No way. I mean, I know that your wife teaches and has had I mean, I don't know if it was like this or not, but something at least close to it. You've mentioned that before on previous podcasts, and I mean,
yeah, she's worked in Title IX, and while she works in a school now that's in one of the high-end parts of Tampa, it has, because of the way things are drawn, also because of school choice, also because we have a high immigrant population, because there's a local university nearby that attracts a lot of foreigners. It's a wide mix, and she definitely deals with a lot of the socialization issues this season speaks to in the students.
Right. And what you see in this,
she's had to make some DCF phone calls. Like, really? there have absolutely been kids that have been Baker acted out of that school. Oh yeah, there's a lot of mental health issues. Kids have had to have been, in Florida, it's called the Baker Act. It's a forcible inpatient hospitalization for children. I mean, the Baker Act exists for everybody, but in this particular case, they've had to have kids Baker acted out of the school and brought to a community mental health center. You've got single parent homes, you've got drugs, you've got all kinds. She's absolutely called me at work. Like, can you tell me if this kid's parent is in jail? And I as long as I'm not going through their medical record, I'm not breaking any rules because we have a
right.
I mean, she could have easily done this herself. There's
Right.
a public website that tells you who's in jail.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. It's what we see in this season, though, is we get to see the struggles, but we also get to see somebody, mainly Bunny Colvin, trying to take an action in order to change the situation, much like he did in the previous season by Amsterdam. But this here is him at least trying to work within the system to better these kids. And what you start to realize is that, you know, the way the system is set up is not meant to make these kids succeed. It's to make the system succeed.
Yes.
It's to make the school succeed. And that's what's sad. But
I think thematically that's just The Wire, though. You know, if you look at I don't want to get too far ahead, but if you look at a lot of the stuff with Carcetti, so this season he wins the primary, and then it's just assumed he's going to be the mayor.
Mayor-elect. Yeah,
he's mayor-elect. So by the end of the season, he is firmly in the mayor's seat, and he is doing mayor things. And the cliffhanger is he's got a $54 million deficit from the schools that nobody wants to claim that he has to deal with. After he's promised the sun, the moon, and the stars to the police and public works and all kinds of stuff. So that's where we're going to pick up season 5 next month. But in the meantime, one of the things that occurs, the school budget deficit thing is a really great like microcosm of what you're talking about, in the sense of systems are designed for the system to succeed. The people in the system can fuck off,
right?
You know, but it is definitely designed to keep the system running the way that it's going. And so you have the situation with this $54 million deficit, and he's told, go to the governor, beg for the money. But if you do that, you're going to look like shit 2 years from now when you try to run for governor.
Yeah.
And
you're
ultimately he fucks the kids and the whole city to protect his political career.
Right. Yeah,
nobody just does the right thing because it's the right thing to do. You know,
right.
The governor that he's going to is going to make him suffer and pay for it because he sees him coming. So this is an advantage to take it out of his ass, instead of just giving him the money because we don't want your city schools to fail. You know, things like that.
Teach them the test. Them the test. It's like, why they're not learning anything. You're just teaching them the test itself, how to pass the test. I remember when I was watching this the first round and going, how can these people feel like they are doing anything? And that's pretty much what Presbolewski, I'm calling him Presbo. Presbolewski.
Presbo.
That's pretty much what Mr. Presbolewski ends up understanding, is that, you know, he isn't doing anything in order to make these kids learn something that's useful. And you know, there's a great moment where he starts to realize, what can I do to make them learn? And that is to use what he wants to teach them and apply it to their world.
Right. They start shooting dice, and through dice, he's able to teach them probability.
Right. But yeah, man, you just, as much as this show is about drugs, take a shot every time someone mentions a number. That's when you're going to be in the hospital, because everything is numbers driven in this city.
Oh my God.
Stats.
There's a scene where Carcetti's addressing the West Side roll call, and even like one of like the old like narcotics detectives, it's just like, it's the fucking numbers game, man. Yeah.
Right, dude.
There's a whole conversation that takes place between Presbolewski and Cuddy's ex-girlfriend, who's a teacher, where, you know, and she's now switched from whatever county school she was at in season 3. She's come over to the school, you know, so they basically just wanted to keep this character around. So they moved her into the same city school that Presbolewski's teaching in. It's kind of like a mentor character to him. And she's explaining things to him, and he goes, "Oh, you're juking the stats."
Juking the stats, baby.
She's like, what? She's like, he's like, we have this, you know, way of making rapes go away, turning burglaries into this, and, you know, everything getting reduced. So it's not a real reflection of the crime rate. It is massaged to make it look better than it really is.
Yeah.
My question to you, though, was, did you enjoy this season? And look, I'll be the first to tell you, all 5 seasons of The Wire are some of the best television you're going to see out there. Take a drink every time I've said that. You will be blackout drunk. However, I would argue season 4 of The Wire is the worst of the 5 seasons.
Okay. All right.
Let me ask you, how do you feel about that?
Comparing it to the first 3, since I haven't watched 5 yet. We started 5 last night, by the way, but comparing it to the first 3.
I can't wait to talk about 5.
So, I mean, I could see that. I really could, because I did enjoy Amsterdam a lot.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing that this season does for me is it makes Lester Freeman's up here for me. Bunny Colvin actually eclipses him a little bit here for me in this season. But regardless, when you're looking at the other 3 seasons, the whole Stringer Bell versus McNulty thing is going on. Season 2 is we're down at the docks and the Greeks. We got that stuff that's going on. I was interested in that. So I could see this as being probably, of the 4, the weakest of the 4 that I've seen.
I'm going to make my argument by asking you a very simple question. What was the major case in season 4? Because season 1, it's the Avon Barksdale Organization. Season 2, it's the Greeks, Frank, and the docks, and the Union. Season 3, it's the Marlowe, Stanfield, Avon, Barksdale war. What was season 4 about? What is the major case that they're investigating?
I don't know if there
isn't one. No. In the first episode, Lex and Bodie are having a conversation about how Fruit's banging Lex's girlfriend or some shit.
Yep. And
Lex is fucked up about it. And so Lex decides he's going to handle it by shooting Fruit in the head. Goodbye, Fruit. You survived Cuddy just to get killed by Lex.
Yeah.
And so Chris and Snoop get Lex and they kill him and they put him in the vacants. And like, if the only right answer to the question I asked is technically it's where is Marlowe hiding the bodies?
Yeah.
Which starts off hot and heavy after Lex goes missing because Bung catches the Fruit murder. And it's said to be Lex. He knows that much. So they're trying to find Lex. He's the murderer. But it's said that Lex was killed and put in the vacants. Well, killed. They don't know where the body is. The police don't. And it's going to take all fucking season 4 for them to figure out where the bodies are.
Yeah.
Way too long. But, he can't close out the Fruit murder until they find Lex's body. And so the first couple of episodes, it's him. And once they do away with the major crimes unit, which is a whole other story, Lester and Bunk are off looking for Lex's body. And they can't seem to figure out where. And the question is being asked, how does Marlowe take over almost the entire West Side and not drop a body? Why are no bodies being produced?
Yeah.
Right. Why is the murder rate somehow not reflecting the change in what drug dealer has what corner? Right. It's a mystery. This is not how this works. So that is the major case in season 4. And it's basically them kind of putching around for 2 or 3 episodes, and then Lester goes back to homicide and they just leave it alone. Then Bunk gets tied up with Omar. That's Omar robbed a cart. It's so convoluted. Not convoluted. It's just so like interweaving. So
right.
Marlowe doesn't want to join the co-op. He has managed to eliminate his biggest competitor. He doesn't fuck with the East Side. He's got the West Side by the balls. And as he says, no one fucks with him. So why join the co-op? And Prop Joe's like, you ignorant motherfucker. Like, if we all join together and we all cooperate and we don't beef over corners, the cops mostly leave us alone and we all share in the profits of the best heroin Europe can sell us.
Right.
And Marlowe's dumbass goes, that's okay. So Prop Joe is now in the business of trying to convince him through experience that it's better to be in the co-op because one of the benefits, other than the good package, is knowledge. There's people who know people, and they'll get you insider information. Who's investigating you? What's going on here? Things like that. And the way Prop Joe manipulates it is he sets Omar on Marlowe's card game.
Yeah. Yep.
And he was like, I could have warned you.
If you would have just listened.
I knew. This is my Prop Joe impression.
That's good.
That's good. I could have told you. But alas, I don't know why Joe's fanning.
You need one of these. You need to bring the glasses way down here. And then
I could have told you were going to get robbed at the card game, but you're not part of the co-op. That he set Omar on.
Right, dude. Yeah, he is a sneaky guy.
Mm-hmm.
They're all. I can tell you that. One thing that this season did for me was made me absolutely hate. Oh my goodness, I lost his name. It's not Omar. My gosh.
Rawls.
Here. Say it again.
Wait, Chris, Snoop, Omar, Marlowe.
Thank you. My goodness. Why in the world his name?
Well, he has the personality of fucking drywall.
I mean, and I think that's what makes me hate this guy is because he shows absolutely no emotion. Of course, that's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to be stone cold. I'll kill anybody that gets in my way or kill anybody I think is a snitch. They do
motherfuckers just to do them.
Right, dude.
I edited that line for television, but that's Bodie's thing. It's just like it's one thing to commit, because Poot comes home and they're having a debate over whether or not little Kevin should have been killed, and he's like, he didn't do anything. There was no reason to kill him. And
Bodie feels responsible for that because he's the one that said, "Hey, go get in front of this. Go talk to him."
Right.
There's something good about going and talking to somebody ahead of time to let them know, hey, this is what's happening. He'll look at you with some respect and give you some
and give you some leeway. And instead they just fucking kill him.
Right. Get in the car.
Well,
oh, geez.
Let me go back a second. Well, the point that I was going through all that was, so now Marlowe is set upon Omar. So the way that they do it is they rob Andre and they shoot the convenience store clerk, the person who's stocking the shelves. They shoot her.
Oh, right.
And then they slap Andre upside the face with a gun. And they say,
old face Andre.
Old face Andre. And they said, say
Omar.
Sorry. I'm just fuck it. I'm just going to apologize in advance for anyone listening to this. It's just like, ooh, I wish you wouldn't. I'm just going to quote the show straight. I can't keep changing it, but there's so many good lines. It's not my fault they wrote it this way. It's kind of like the Tarantino movie. When old face Andre is trying to plead his case to Marlowe, and he's like, it's like a terrorist out there. And Marlowe's just about had enough of old face Andre. But the only time he gets even like remotely emotional, which is to say almost not at all.
Yeah.
It's like you ain't CNN and you're just a nigga who got your shit took.
Yeah.
Oh, Marlowe. I mean, again, with so many good lines, he's just a nigga who got his shit took.
Oh,
I have no fucking patience for you. Get out.
It took his ring right off of him. Well, it's a nice ring. Yeah,
it was, which floats around this season.
Yes, it does.
So Omar ends up in jail, and he reaches out to Bunk, and so Bunk's story shifts from the bodies and the vacants that they're looking for to helping out Omar, and then goes back to the vacants later on.
Right.
My point with all of this is we're 20 minutes in, and all I wanted to hear you say was this is the worst season of The Wire by far. There's no because searching for the bodies in the vacants is not a particularly strong story, especially when they abandon it for a good 6
Yeah, well, I mean, Major Crimes gets dissolved for most of the
dissolved. They replace everybody with Marimo as the lieutenant, who's a
fucking Herc.
And then Herc, who's useless.
Herc is an idiot.
He really is. Like this might be like the least sympathetic Herc looks in the entire 5-season run.
Oh yeah, everything goes wrong for him, man.
Well,
because he makes some stupid decisions.
Well, he has a great line with Carver. Carver, who is awesome this season. Like he's really learned his lessons from season 3 about talking to people, being part of the community, and he gets a soft heart and Boy, we haven't even gotten to the stars of this thing yet. We really should talk about them. But, Carver is so much different this season than he's been the past 3 seasons. But then here comes Herc, to drag him back down into the gutter. And Carver goes, this is one of those enabling relationships. And Herc, ever the sociopath, enable me, Carver. Enable me. Enable me to find my fucking camera.
Yeah, he's an idiot.
Let's talk about the kids. Kids are the star of this thing. This is the other reason why it's the worst season ever. Just the focus on the Vacants is not, to me, strong enough to warrant me saying it's better than seasons 1, 2, or 3, or 5 for that matter. Though, and I don't want to get into 5, but Robert and I briefly talked about this during the Black Panther review about how he thinks 5 is the worst season because of what happens. But I'm like, no, 5 at least had a perspective. 5 at least had a point. They were investigating Marlowe. They were still trying to bring down the Marlowe Stanfield crew for killing 20 some odd people and putting them in the Vacants. There is, it's just all over the place. But and the reason why, so there's a lot of things happening in season 4 that make it the standout season amongst the 5, but for all the wrong reasons. 1, McNulty minimized, barely in this season.
A lot of people feel the same way. I mean, I didn't miss him that much. I mean, I honestly didn't. I think the story was strong enough to stand on its own without McNulty. Well, with him just kind of appearing on the periphery. Go ahead.
Essentially minimized McNulty in the major crimes unit so they could focus on the kids in the education system. Which, here's the thing. I don't know if you felt differently because you're a business graduate, you have a business degree, and you've been working in unemployment for the vast majority of your career. So I don't know if you think about this the same way that I do, but I've been a social worker since the year of our Lord 2000. So 22 years. Mm-hmm. In that time, I have a graduate degree, my license, everything else. I've worked with kids. I've worked with families. I've worked in the correctional system with drug addicts and whatnot. And the problem with this was, in what year was this? This was 2006. So I've been in the social service field for 6 years. I was a teacher before that. I was a teacher in 1999 in the Los Angeles public school system. In fact, I taught in the junior high that fed into the high school that Stand and Delivered was said to have taken place.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I heard some stories about that teacher, by the way. In any case, I already fucking knew all this. I knew kids in inner cities had shit situations. I knew there was mental health problems. The thing about seasons 1, 2, and 3 is they're talking about stuff that is interesting to me that I would want to watch a television show about, and that I may not have already known. Season 4 is let's tell you how bad the education is. I fucking know already. I know. I have worked with these children.
Okay.
Duquan, Michael, Namond, and Randy, who are the stars of season 4, and then to a lesser degree, my favorite character in this entire season, Kennard. They kicked my door in, David. That's how they do. You're this big. This is how big Kennard is.
Oh my gosh. He gets beat.
Oh yeah, Michael whoops his ass. So a lot of this season is just following those kids around, watching them in school. They separate Naaman out and they put him in the special class with the rest of the sweat hogs. Following that, and then they're in the street. They're fucking with this one evil cop, Walker. You see their home lives. There's a lot about Michael and then his, and his brother's father who comes home who clearly molested Michael at one point. Randy and his foster mother. You don't get to see much of Duquan's home life, but Duquan's home life is essentially he lives with hardcore drug addicts.
It's not good.
Right. And then, you spend some time with Donut. You spend some time with Kennard. You spend some time with Sherrod. Can I tell you every Sherrod bubble scene I just fast forward through?
Oh,
I have the least amount of interest in the entire bubble story with the other homeless drug addict.
Poor Bubs.
I mean, it's sad what happens. Just for the record, he makes a hot shot to kill this guy that's been bullying him, and Kennard and Sherrod smokes it and kills himself.
Kills him. Yeah.
Right, and so Bubs turns himself into the homicide unit and tries to hang himself in the interrogation room, and ends up at the end in a psychiatric facility. Which that generally makes me sad. When what's his face? I can't remember the character's name, but he's played by a musician, Tom Waits. goes to see him at the very end. And
Oh
Bubs,
yeah, that was tough, man.
and
Yeah,
Bubs just falls the fuck to pieces. That's brutal.
Yeah, he's just staring off, and then as soon as he sees somebody that he recognizes, he's just so filled with shame, and he just breaks down.
Right,
man.
So I'm gonna let you go ahead and jump in on this, but as much the individual actors give extremely good performances. Their stories are very sad, and it's just like The Wire to reward the least worthy child with the best life. Naaman Bryce is Weebay's son. Weebay who took all them murders for a sandwich, for a potato sandwich. What was it? For fucking pita sandwich and some potato chips. Speaking of not pronouncing words correctly. Pita sandwich, some potato chips. I'll go a few more. That's not even English. But good old Weebay. So yeah, Naaman Bryce is Weebay's son, and because the Avon Barksdale Organization has pretty much dried up and all the money with it.
Yeah, it's all wrong.
Naaman has to go out in the streets and start selling drugs because that's what his mother expects him to do because she's the worst. And
boy, is she.
And by the end of the season, he realizes, hey, I don't want to be a drug dealer anymore. Hey, I don't want to be a criminal. Hey, I'm not hard. You know, I bully the one kid that I can bully because I'm too afraid to actually, you know, I have a big mouth and no bite. And because throughout all of that, he's developed this relationship with Bunny. Bunny ends up adopting him.
Right.
Not Michael, who was molested, not Randy, who, to get out of a possible assisted rape charge, you know, confesses to being a part of a murder.
Almost adopted by another cop. Another cop tried to adopt him.
Yeah.
Carver tried to.
But no, ends up getting beat to shit in a group home.
He got that snitch put on him. He got the word snitch is attached to him.
And Duquan, who was the most needing of all, the most worthy of all to have been taken care of by any one of the functional adults in this show, ends up living with Michael.
Right. At least Michael treats him right, you know, and that's the good thing. And it's kind of like a big brother to him. And
it's just such a Wire thing. Like, of these 4 children, who should win the grand prize and be adopted by Bunny Colvin? How about the asshole? The worst child.
The kid that changed the most. I don't know. I mean, look, a lot of this season is chartering the journey of these kids who, you know, our first episode.
Hang on, if you don't have buy-in with the kid stories, this is a chore to get through. That's my whole thing.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you're watching these kids go from a real tight-knit group of friends, and by the end of this, you know, Carver's walking past where these kids used to hang, and whatever the name of their, you know, their little group was spray painted on the wall, but it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
What was it? Something Mafia?
It was like Fayette Street Mafia or some shit.
Right. But by the time this just one year of school is over, everything has changed for these kids. And I think that's probably what they're trying to detail here in this season is that, you know, these kids, they grow up, they have friends, and because of the way the streets are in a single year, everything can change. Everything.
Right before Bodie is killed for talking to McNulty, he talks about that he's been in the street since he was 13.
Yeah.
I think he's like 15 or 16 in season 1. So by the time we get to season 4, he's probably around 20 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, like the one or two times he gets popped between seasons 1 and 3, he talks about going to, like, you know, baby booking in juvenile hall or whatever, you know, Boys Village. I want to say it's either season 1 or season 2 where he escapes Boys Village and limps home.
Yeah. He's just like, he's grabbing him up and then he's just walking out the door.
Yep. But I think just to kind of, if we want to talk about sort of the problem with we touched on it before. What they're talking about with the education system is essentially the social family system in Baltimore is broken. Colvin, Bunny, says something about there's stoop kids and there's corner kids. Stoop kids. Stoop kids. Sorry. Stoop kids will more or less do what they're told. They'll do their work. They'll come to school. They aren't going to cause problems. Corner kids will make learning for the stoop kids almost impossible.
Right.
So the whole program that he gets proposed, the whole thing that is, he meets a doctoral social worker, and they have this grant money to deal with socializing kids to try to get them off the path of destruction. And it's funny because originally he's like, we're talking 18 to 21-year-olds. And so they talked to one of them in the interrogation room.
He's like, wait a second, we could go younger. After that guy basically throws something at him and about grabs him, shoves his pin up his ass.
What is so funny is that throughout that questioning, where they're just like, let's say something happened to your sister. What happened to my sister? No, let's say, why are you talking about my sister? Here's the thing. I've experienced that level of dumb every day. I can't tell you how many people I talk to that are that level of dumb, or like when Prez is talking to junior high kids, he's talking to 8th graders, and he's like, okay, we're going to distribute. What distribute mean? Give out. Why don't you just say give out? I think when there was something about like being married, and like one of the kids just can't get off of it, and it's like, why you married? Like to have intimacy.
Right.
Ooh, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah. Calm down now.
Right. I absolutely experienced that level of dumb.
Jeez Louise.
So I think as much as I enjoy the performances and I am sympathetic towards the storylines, I just struggle with this season because between the not having a central case that they're focused on and not having a theme that I'm particularly interested in at this point because it's a little too close to home for me, more so than anything else in The Wire. I don't love this season. So we're a little more than halfway through now. What are some of your highlights and things that you wanted to talk about?
All right. Well,
hang on, before you do, my favorite part of this is the season where Omar gets up, goes to get the Honey Nut Cheerios. There's none left. So he puts on his silk robe. I remember this. His silk pajama, his bottoms, his silk robe, and he goes for a walkabout. And as he's walking down the street, people are just yelling, Omar's coming, and throwing drugs at him.
Yep.
And
he stands up against the wall to smoke a cigarette, and then all of a sudden just this big garbage bag falls down right beside him, and he's like looking over, and he takes it home, and he's like, I don't even want this. Yeah, I don't want it.
Ronaldo's, he's got a new boy. Ronaldo's, this is boy number 3 since season 1. But they run out of Honey Nut Cheerios. As he's looking at the bag of drugs.
Oh my god!
And that's when Omar's like, I don't even want this.
Yeah.
And then he goes after bigger fish. Connected to that, when Bunk does the right thing, and he realizes that if they let Omar hang for hitting Old Face Andre and killing the civilian, they're letting the true killer walk. The true killer ended up being Chris, of Chris and Snoop. And Bunk undoes that murder, which is another great line in this. They him and I can't remember the detectives. I can't remember the Vernon, I think is something like that. The freckled detective, African American detective, where he won't. The other guy won't do it. The other guy's an asshole. But he gets Vern to go back and interview Old Face Andre. Old Face Andre goes back on his story. They undo the murder. They submit their report to Landsman, who's all about making black. He doesn't, really interested in the finer points of detective work. Just make red to black. That's all he cares about. That's just that he's only interested in alchemy. and fucking Vern hands him the thing and just kind of stands there with the cat, like the cat with a mouse in his jowls. And Landsman just fucking silently looks up at him in disgust. And he looks at Bunk, who's kind of like hiding behind the door. What the fuck did you do?
Right.
And then he turns to Vern, and he was just like, how could you let him do this to you? Stand up for yourself. It's so good. That whole bit made me laugh my balls off.
Yeah, the bodies, man. I mean, these, just like you said, they're trying to find these bodies, and it's cool to watch Lester Freeman do his detective stuff in order to kind of figure out where they're being held at. Once they find out, they start connecting the pieces and understanding that there's a nail gun involved, which I think that might be my favorite part of episode 1 is right there in the beginning when Snoop goes to buy the nail gun. And she's sitting there looking over these nail guns and she's talking to, I would say, somebody, an assistant there at Home Depot. And we go through all these great, he's trying to
change. It's like, this is $800. Yeah, you earned that tip like a motherfucker.
That's great.
God, I love Snoop. Snoop still has one of the best lines in the history of The Wire. I'm going to do it, Jesse. I'm going to do it.
Oh, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Can I do it?
Go for it.
Do I have your permission, Daddy? Can I do it?
Go for it. Let's hear it.
In B-more, we aim to hit a nigga yard.
B-more.
In B-more, we aim to hit a nigga.
Snoop.
Snoop is the best.
Snoop.
I got to be serious for saying Snoop. The look on Snoop's face when Chris beats Bug's dad to death.
Yeah.
Like, Snoop hardcore fucking murders people, has no patience for anybody, is even like kind of chides Chris for being a little soft on Mike at times, has never looked that much in like horror and despair.
Yeah.
When Chris, because she realizes that Chris is excising a demon. He clearly was also molested at some point in his life, and he is beating the ever-loving fuck out of Bug's dad over it.
Right. Had you had a chance, I'm sure you did, listen to the Wire podcast.
Yes.
The interaction I got from Method Man and Snoop, whoever played Snoop here, on the podcast was like, this was not a seasoned actor that played Snoop. Is that right?
Yeah, no, I think they pulled her from the street.
Right. And she did a great job. I mean, to come off as she's very unique in this season, and that's what she could have been. A horrible actor. Could have done this character a lot.
Look at the Deacon character who we talked about last season, where he was, I think, like an actual drug dealer at one point. And he's so good. He has a lot of great lines too. He's like, a good church man's always up in everyone's shit.
Yes, he is.
Anyway, I have now cut you off 20 times.
Oh, that's right. Lester Freeman finally figured out where the bodies were, and you were talking about the whole interaction with Bunk and the rest of the homicide unit and his superior. When I think it's either the final episode when they start walking through and all these bodies are being pulled out. They're being pulled out, and you look at the board.
I have 23 in the office pool.
The board only goes so far with these fucking names on it.
I have to attach a paper to it.
It just keeps going down. I was like, oh,
the fucking look on Landsman's face, man.
He's just a motherfucker.
Lester Freeman is a vandal. He is vandalizing the board.
He's a Visigoth. He has some great lines. Like everything, like some of these people who have these bit parts have some of the greatest like written lines for them. It makes you wonder, like, okay, well, this person's clearly in this character's history. They are well educated beyond their means, and they're sitting here doing a job like this. But anyway, so I was thinking of some of my favorite moments. One of the things, I'm just going to throw this out here. One of the things that hit me like one night, 4:00 in the morning, right after we watched an episode, the drug dealers always going around, they've got a code word or a name for the drug that they're selling for the day.
Got that WMD.
Got the WMD. Got a pandemic. Got that pandemic. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, man,
yard barkers.
Why do they have some really like fucked up names for drugs? Like shit you would not want to buy, but you
here's your COVID-AIDS plague. Yeah, got that COVID-AIDS plague.
Fatal leprosy right here. Come get your fatal leprosy.
I got that projectile leprosy right here.
I'm like, what fucking shit, man. But yeah, that hit me one night. Let's see here.
Do you ever just do that? Do you ever just like walk through, when you had to like go into the office, you ever just gotta think to yourself, got that red chair, got that pandemic.
Got that pandemic. Yeah, I talked about how Bunny Colvin probably made his way up the ladder for me as far as hero goes on The Wire. Last year was great. This year, I mean, I understood what he wanted to do. This is a man who wanted to take and make some type of a change in the school system, even though he wasn't really interested in it at first. We first see him he's a hotel security guard, because he's no longer working for the police. But he gets involved with the academic who he finally understands what this guy wants to do, and then gets involved in the school. And to watch him go to Weebay, that takes some gumption, I guess is the best word. To go,
the word you're looking for.
There you go. To go and talk to a convicted drug dealer, convicted murderer,
serving multiple life sentences, who took extra murders for a pita sandwich and some potato chips.
Your son, can he come and live with a former cop?
I would like to. Hi, you don't know me, but I taught your son for 2 months, and I would now like to adopt him.
That just shows you that the level of understanding that Bunny Colvin has. Number one, for the people that were on the streets and their role. He was a cop. He was, and he was beating on drug dealers, I'm sure, but growing up on those corners.
I used to beat on your boys, when he's going through like, what Baltimore was like back when they were both young. And he was like, I used to beat up on you and your boys on the corner. When we would sweep corners. And then he has that one line, like, what time did Tatum Man come out to club?
Right.
And Weebay knows none of the rest of the universe knows what the fuck he's talking about, but Weebay knew. Who the fuck is Tater Man?
If I remember right, Kima, on her first homicide or the first body she went to go see, they're like, hey, check the hand. He's got a little rolled up piece of paper in there that says Tater did it. And the other hand, Bunk's like, the other hand's got his phone number.
So good.
But anyway, Kima in this season, again, pretty limited role. She's in homicide now. It's fun to watch her kind of try to get her legs under her in a new position.
Jesse. Oh, she makes up with Cheryl, your favorite character in the entire 5-season run of The Wire. You don't get to like things that I don't like. Do you understand that? You get that now?
See, I was kind of surprised. I mean, I guess I really shouldn't be, because we kind of knew that stuff was on the rocks, but you were kind of hoping that these guys would work it out. They never did.
No, I wasn't hoping either. I fucking hate Cheryl. Still do.
All she's trying to do is take care of her kid and wants somebody there to help her, at least be a little bit more involved.
Clearly, Kima didn't want the kid and felt bullied.
Clearly.
I mean, I don't know really what it's like to be bullied into a situation you don't actually want. However,
blink.
However, that sometimes happens in a relationship. And maybe resentment's built. I'm just on Kima's side is all.
Okay. All right.
I understand that you're on Cheryl's side and you hate reasonable people.
Whatever, man. Oh, whatever. So yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else that was really important that happened with Carcetti. I mean, clearly we get to watch him go through all the motions.
Oh my God, the bowl of shit monologue.
I was just about to say, he has to learn how to eat shit.
Yeah.
And somebody actually has to tell him, get ready, because you're going to have to start to eat shit.
Yep. I love that monologue, by the way. Because first of all, the old politician that he's talking to, the former mayor, he's like, it's like my chief of staff brings in this beautiful silver bowl. And I look and there's a pile of shit. What am I supposed to do with it? You're supposed to eat it. Then the next day, this is from the ministers. It's another bowl. Another bowl of shit I'm supposed to eat. And so why didn't I run for mayor again? Got tired of eating bowls of shit.
Right.
I get it. I really do. I see where that man is coming from. And then I think it's Carcetti who, because Herc does the Herc gets the false tip from Marlowe about
Bubs.
Yeah, but okay, no, well the first time he gets a bad tip and he ends up jacking up the one woman coming off the train.
Oh yeah, right. He gets set up for that one, Marlo.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So all because of the camera. The second time around, he's fucked Bub so many times, and refuses to help him that Bub sets him up, and he ends up jacking up a minister. And they're like, "Could we please fire the halfway racist bald white cop who's with 1,001 IED brutality complaints? Maybe."
Right.
And I think that's what inspires Carcetti to be like, "Oh, good, it's my first bowl of shit."
Right. He's got a lot of, just like you said, he promised a lot of things to the police, and you know, again, it's the numbers. The numbers come back to bite him in the ass, and he has to try and dig himself out of the deficit that the schools have. So there's a lot of that, but you get
great scene, by the way. It's just like, well, you can't put this on the city council. It's not like we got the entire budget. You can't blame the school district. This was merely an accounting issue. And finally, like, the chief of staff is just like, we get it. Nobody's at fault. Now what do we do?
Let's move on and figure out how to fix it.
I have absolutely been in a table full of adults all pointing the finger at anyone but themselves and saying it's not my fault.
Right. We do get to see, the end of our good buddy, Preston Brody.
Goes out like a soldier.
Yep. Yeah, he does. That's kind of sad. That was my wife was like really upset when he, we knew he was going to get shot. Actually,
well, Poot's line to McNulty about that is like the most like poignant and brutal. He was like, he got killed for talking to you. So either cuff me or let me go. Yeah. But shut the fuck up.
Yeah. I don't want it to happen to me.
Right. Yeah. Let go of me before you do me the way you did him. And you could just see McNulty's face fall off.
Right. Yeah. He finally realizes, oh shit, just because he got into a car with me, just because I was talking to him.
This is why you should always do the right thing. Like Saint Spike Lee taught us. Always do the right thing, Jesse Starcher.
Always.
Because you never know who's watching, and you think you have someone's trust, you don't.
Yeah.
Especially in the age of this shit right here. See this?
Yeah.
You know how easy it is to betray somebody with one of these things?
Right.
It's easy as taking a screenshot.
Yes, sir. So I'm trying to think of what else I have on my list. I mean, we've covered most of the main characters. We watched, Michael. I did watch the first episode, like I said, of season 5, and we're going to see Michael. We're going to see, oh my goodness, what's his roommate again? My goodness, what is his name? Help me out.
Dookie or
Dukon. Yeah, Dookie. Duki's going to be there. As far as the first episode goes, we're at least going to continue that. And but it was a good. I enjoyed the season. I'm glad I got the chance to finish it. There might be a reason to support me stopping back in 2020. Might also support your argument for this not being the best season. But I'm glad I got to finish it. It's a very depressing, very, very depressing season.
By the way, the least amount of telephonic surveillance in any season of the show about telephonic surveillance.
All right.
Just gonna, as my son said, this movie had 5 minutes. In 3 hours, this movie had 5 minutes of Black Panther in the Black Panther movie. This is the least amount of telephonic surveillance. Killed the wire in like episode 2 or 3. Right. And it never comes back. You understand what I'm trying to tell you, Jesse? 13 episodes of this motherfucking shit, and they never get that wire back.
I hear you. They'll be back up on the phone soon. Don't you worry. Lester Freeman's going to see to that. He will see to it.
Wait till you see what happens with Lester in season 5.
No, you son of a bitch.
Oh yes. McNulty comes home. McNulty feels like it's a new day. After everything that's happened, and after what happened with Bodie, he feels like once Lester comes back to the major case squad, they kind of reunite the band. Jeff Jarrett shows up with a guitar. It's a whole deal. He says to Marlo, "Listen up, slapnuts." McNulty shows back up, and it's like, okay, and we're geared now. They have 20 some odd bodies in a gym. By the way, there was one thing that kind of bothered me about the very end of The Wire. So everybody's on board with solving these murders in the Vacants. Everybody's on board with finding all the bodies in the vacants. This is a citywide thing. It makes national news. And Irv, who nearly lost his job, but he won't resign, no matter how much Carcetti begged. He won't resign, and Carcetti can't fire him because you can't fire the black chief of police when you're white, because them's the rules. So he's trying to make Daniels. He's trying to make Daniels like as fast as possible. And then there's poor Rawls, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. But Irv, trying to not have shit on him and try to last his last couple of years, does the right thing, and it was like, all right, Daniels, you're the colonel. This is your show. What do you need? There's a line right before he says that, and this always bothered me, and it irked my nerves this last time around when I was watching it, because like it was an obvious thing to me, and I don't know how the hell they didn't think to do this, because later in season 5, this pays off, but in a stupid way. Burrell says to Daniels, what do you need? Anything you want, we'll get it for you. Right before that, they're like, it's gonna be a year to sift. Rawls is the one that says it. It's gonna take a year to sift through all this dirt because we don't have enough tech. We don't have enough crime lab. We don't have enough crime lab personnel. We don't have a big enough crime lab for this. It's gonna take forever to get through all of this evidence to see who did what. Daniel's like, I need more patrol to open more houses, and then I think he says something else, and then that's it. Why aren't you asking for the FBI's help here? At the very least, ask for their lab resources. Farm some of this shit out. Like, why? It was one of those where I don't feel like the writers even realized what they had done, because when asked, what do you need? The obvious answer should have been more labs, more lab techs.
Right. You'd think that there would be some pretty big eyes on this investigation, considering how many? 23?
Right. They have an established relationship with the FBI. I mean, I understand in every single season when this has come up, they're like, only political corruption and terrorism, and this doesn't qualify as either. However, that's how they made the case the second time around. Was they were like, oh, we got political corruption here, and I think in season 5 you'll find this out. Like, they actually, those subpoenas that Lester sent out at the beginning of the season that got the major case squad essentially derailed, is an investigation they're going to go into Clay Davis, which you'll find out more about next season. So I feel like there was a missed opportunity there. Shit.
Well, we got a few of those this season.
There's a lot of Clay Davis this season.
Yeah.
Just like,
there was.
You contribute to some of my favorite charities, and I'll get you, elected. Proceeds to show up right with Royce.
What a jerk. Swinging back onto McNulty real quick. This is the happiest I think you'll ever see him, at least in of all 4 seasons.
Definitely the least drunk.
The least drunk, the happiest. He's a beat cop. He's with Beatty, and he's trying to make at least the right decisions when it comes to alcoholism and drinking. He's on the wagon.
Did you see the look on our dear sweet friend? It's the actress's name that
Callie Thorne, baby. Oh,
Callie Thorne. That look she gave him no fucking flex the first 3 seasons. McNulty's like, I'm gonna change. He's like, you're gonna sign divorce papers is what you're gonna do. I'm gonna change. You're gonna give me more money is what you're gonna do. All that shit. Callie Thorne gave him no fucking flex. And then this season, he's with a new. It's always this way. Okay, when Melissa and I divorce, every problem that she has with me will be solved with the next woman I'm with, guaranteed. That's how this goes.
That's how it works.
The first wife always looks at the next wife and goes, "What the fuck? What is with your vagina that he now acts different? Why? We learned. That's why. And so he learned, right? He learned, and so he's good with Beatty. And Callie Thorne, being a woman, can't fucking take it. Just can't handle it.
Her words are like, if I would have known, you would have grown up to be a grown up. And he's making those strides. And you could tell.
He promised her he was going to stop fucking himself up. Do you remember that? He was like, like the one night that hot sex scene on the folding chair. And like the next night, he's like reading the paper. He's like, let's have a family day. She's like, let's sign divorce papers.
Yeah. How about you get on out of here?
Hey, you ever heard that phrase, hit it and quit it? You're not doing the quit it part is the issue.
Yeah, it's time to quit it, sir. It's time to quit it.
Yeah, so she wouldn't believe him. You know, she'd been hurt too much. And then that look of jealousy, that look of like, I done fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Life's not so green on the greener, you know, life's not as green as you think it's going to be on the other side of the fence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how's Dennis doing? Dennis is Dennis.
Dennis is Dennis. We're on, we're off.
That's right. Yep.
Yes, indeed.
All right, Jesse, final words here as we're at the hour mark on season 4.
Oh, right at the hour mark, too. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, yeah, hey, you know, look, I think it's a solid chapter, just like you said. 5 seasons of The Wire, according to you, are some of the best television out there.
Let me put it to you this way. There's a season of Oz that's twice as long as any other season. Seasons 4 and seasons 5 of The Wire might as well have been that season of Oz. I think it's season 4. Because season 4 and season 5 really are part 1 and part 2 of the same story. This is all attack on the Marlowe Stanfield crew, which is why it takes 13 episodes just to find the fucking bodies.
Right.
You know, and then it takes another 13 episodes to conclude the goddamn thing.
Yeah. And I'd mentioned earlier about how this is probably one of the most depressing shows. This season is pretty depressing. There are some bright spots, but
you have no clue. None.
You
have no idea how this is going to end. When I tell you it broke Melissa, you're gonna come back to me and you'll be like, "Oh, this is the corner depressing."
Boy, oh boy, what am I in for, man?
Season 5, the end of season 5. So season 5 ends as every season does with the montage set to. By the way, this montage has got my favorite song of all of them, "Walk on Gilded Splinters."
Oh yeah, you talked about that. Yeah,
I love it. So at the end of season 5, I won't tell you who, but at the end of season 5, as they're flashing through where are all the characters now. This is now months later, you know, as they do a reprise of Down in a Hole. And they're showing you, here's McNulty, here's Kima, here's Bunk, here's this person, here's that person. They're going to get to a particular character. And it's quite possibly the saddest thing you're ever going to see in the history of television.
Oh, man.
It is. It's going to hit you, and you're going to suddenly end up in a space LP floating in space. Okay? You're not going to know what happened. You're like, no! People like, watch this. What the fuck's he talking about? Just go watch Superman 2.
We started the season, so we'll have her done here pretty soon. Mindy's pretty invested now, and I am too, obviously. But man, oh man. Well,
McNulty, serial killer.
Anyway,
there's Bunk. There's a serial killer on the loose, and he must be stopped. I don't want any part of you anymore. That's Bunk saying that to McNulty. I want.
Oh my god. Bunk. Jimmy. Anyway, yeah. Well, I mean, this is pretty depressing. There's not a lot of. By the end of this, you know, you get to see Naaman's doing all right for himself, but all of his friends are in pretty rough shape. Marlowe Stanfield is still. He's running the game. Plus, he's probably making some moves in the co-op too. Mm-hmm. So all the bad people are winning here, Mark, and I'm not liking it.
Oh yeah, Marlowe gets to meet with the incidental issue with Omar robbing the shipment from the Greeks. Is it causes Marlowe to then have to meet the Greeks.
That's right.
And if Marlowe has a connection to the Greeks, what do they need Prop Joe for?
Right. He's trying to work around.
Season 5.
Big Slim. Oh boy. But yeah, I mean, again, good television. Had a good time watching it. I will be looking forward to, I guess, trying not to hang myself after season 5.
Hey, look, for every depressing moment, there's a moment where Chris is asking a New York drug dealer if he knows the name of a local rapper, and he does it. And he says the wrong name, and Snoop almost kills him. And Chris is like, no, it's the other guy. It's the other guy.
That's good stuff, right?
I get on people for not knowing culture. There's like one of my bosses, every time I say a movie or something to her, she's like, I don't know what that is. It's like, I'm on this earth by myself. Could you imagine being Snoop and have no clue what's going on in the earth? All you know is killing people.
That's all you knew.
That's it. You don't know music. You don't know movies. You were just in the street killing people, and that is all you know.
Nail guns. I tell you what, if you rolled up beside Snoop and started talking hardware, you're going to have probably a good 3-hour conversation.
Even then, what she knew about the nail gun was how they used it previously, and it broke, and that's why she needs a new one. By the way, as bad as this season is in comparison to the other 4, you do have to give credit where credit's due. It's still one of the most brilliant shows ever written. That the payoff to that cold open for season 4 of her buying a nail gun is that it's related to the disappearing of bodies in the Vacants, which is the season finale.
Yeah, right.
Mwah.
Kudos. Good stuff.
Let's see if I know any more quotes that I can drop the N-bomb on. No, anyway.
You should write these down, Mark.
I really should as I'm watching the show. So
I think at the end, when we get into season 5 next month.
You know what? Hang on, keep going. But I got something for you ass now.
Oh boy. Season 5, we'll have to do a comparison because I was really depressed after watching The Corner.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how season 5 compares to The Corner for me. And what we ought to do, if we can remember, we ought to bring up every single quote from all 5 seasons of The Wire that are displayed at the beginning.
Yes.
And either rank them or just pick our top 5. Pick our top 5 of all of those quotes, and then we'll kind of run through them at the end of season 5, our season 5 discussion there. So what are you looking for? You're looking for something.
Okay.
And I'm kind of scared.
All right. I'm gonna send you this link. Let's you and me. We did this. We did this last episode.
Okay.
This is our new game. We're gonna do this. We're gonna keep doing this.
We're gonna do it again
a little bit differently every time. I'm putting it in the private chat. Okay.
I'm looking.
Okay, it's in the private
chat.
There
it is.
Yep. Okay. So follow me, and then you pick up the line that I don't read. A couple of these are single lines. So okay.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say. Okay.
All right. A life, Jimmy. You know what that is? It's the shit that happens while you're waiting for moments that never come. Cool, Lester Smooth. Senator Clay Davis. Shit. Okay. Bunk. I'm just a humble motherfucker with a big ass dick.
You give yourself too much credit.
Okay, then. I ain't that humble. You seem awfully happy today.
I got laid last night.
Oh yeah? Your asshole still hurt? On the game, yo. It's all in the game.
Oh boy, season 1. Here we go. Hit it.
What the fuck did I do?
Give me McNulty.
Boy, them Greeks and those twisted ass names.
Man, lay off the Greeks. They invented civilization.
Yeah? Ass fucking too.
Fucking bunk.
I ain't no suit wearing businessman like you, just a gangster, I suppose.
Oh boy, the fall between Barksdale and Stringer. Goodness.
No name, huh? Well, for now, we'll just call you Boris.
Boris. Why always Boris?
The game done changed.
Game's the same, just got more fierce. Boy, Slim Charles can deliver a line too.
He certainly can. Jesus Christ. I see you favor a 45.
At night I do. And I keeps one in the chamber, in case you pondering. See, again, Omar and his dialect.
Yes.
I love it.
Happy now, bitch.
You get all 3 of these, buddy.
All those mopes and bracelets, and not one of them named Osama. Oh, boy, that has not aged well. All right, Jesse, let me end this podcast by saying, don't get captured.
Don't get captured.
And with that, folks, that is our Wire Season 4 review. Unless you got anything else.
No, man. I look forward to Season 5. We'll have a good discussion here in about a month.
All right, tomorrow, unless she cancels on me, Michael Pollan's new documentary series on Netflix, How to Change Your Mind. Jesse, it's all about psychedelics and mental health. What do you think about that?
We're talking microdosing and stuff like that?
Yeah, man. You want to come over to my place? We'll do some mushrooms. Deal with some of that depression.
Let me tell you, I have heard plenty of stories, and I'm sure.
Have you?
Yeah, sure. I'm not speaking from experience, but so what is it you guys are covering? A documentary?
Michael Pollan wrote An Omnivore's Dilemma. It was a New York Times bestseller.
Okay.
And then he continued to write books, The Botany of Desire, which I think actually preceded that, but people knew about it after the fact. And then some of these books got turned into a documentary series on Netflix. One of them was Cooked. That one we reviewed a few years ago, back in the Blog Talk Radio days, back in the old-timey time.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a new documentary series based on the book he wrote about psychedelics and mental health called How to Change Your Mind. This is the documentary series, which we're going to review.
I can't wait. I can't wait to hear that then. I might want to watch that too. I've heard a lot of discussion, we'll just say, about LSD, psychedelics.
There's a long storied history of the positive uses for psychedelics in mental health treatment.
Right.
But because this government decided that all drugs were bad except for the drugs that they sanctioned,
right,
a lot of that was lost to history, and it's now being picked back up again, but ever so slowly.
Cool.
So the worm is turning slowly towards the good uses for drugs and the harm reduction models, but we're not all the way there yet, because I think if you talk to the average person, and this relates to The Wire as well, they're still drugs are bad. Really, Jay? There's still everything is a case-by-case scenario. Everything, I think you need to look at the details and maybe not paint everything with the widest brush possible.
Right.
And then after that, it's a week late and $1 short, but we're going to do it anyway. I got another triple feature here. This is Full Metal. This is for Veterans Day, our annual show that Andrew Graham and I do for Veterans Day. We're going to look at Full Metal Jacket, The Outpost, and Hamburger Hill. Hey, Jesse, I've been asking everyone all week. Do you remember when we used to have fun on the Radulich Broadcasting Network, Jesse? Do you remember?
It's been a while.
Do you remember? Do you remember? It has been a while. Do you remember when we dedicated an entire month to Alan Moore?
I do remember that. Oh, my goodness. My back still hurts from picking up From Hell from the library.
Yeah, that was a weapon, not a book.
Yeah.
You might want to spread it out so you can wear it as armor if you're ever in the pokey.
I don't want. Yeah, it's my shiv block, right?
Yeah. So I re-aired one of them earlier this year when I was in the Dominican Republic during the anniversary for V for Vendetta. Re-airing the rest of them this weekend because it's Alan Moore's birthday this Friday. Did you know that?
Oh, I did not know that. No, that's great. I wish him a happy birthday. Actually, I want to send it from a fake account titled Firestorm.
I was going to say, can you please title it "Fuck Firestorm"? Happy birthday, dear Alan Moore. Fuck Firestorm. Happy birthday. Source material. So yes, Jesse and I and a bunch of other of our friends back in the old timey times when we used to have fun, did what would be eventually become comic strip, but at the time we didn't give it a name. It was just Alan Moore month.
Right.
And so we compared the book, The Watchmen, to the movie by Zack Snyder. And then we did League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, same thing. And then finally From Hell. And all of those are going to re-air this weekend.
Awesome. This
past couple of days, earlier today, me and Jason Teasley, the Protocol son, we did our Grindhouse triple feature, which was Death Proof, Hobo with a Shotgun, and Planet Terror. Yesterday was a 3-fucking-hour podcast on Black Panther, Jesse.
Wow. You guys, did you guys eclipse the running time of the movie?
Darn close.
Oh, wow.
We had a lot to talk about. It's a good show, but we had a lot to say about it.
Someone referenced Captain America's shield in that podcast, right?
You're damn fucking right. Dude, we have traumatized Alexis and a lot of people on the network with that shit because it comes up a lot.
Great.
People just like, Captain America's shield. So I saw my girlfriend earlier today. I took her out for lunch during her lunch break from work, and I was talking about the Black Panther thing, and I made a joke about how our Captain America, every time, especially when we do Marvel movies, we bring up the Captain America shield thing because to me, an hour-long discussion over who owns the fucking shield and who had the right to give it away or not is makes me laugh, but it makes Alexis want to walk into the woods to live deliberately. So I shared that with my girlfriend, and she's like, wait, who owns Captain America? Like, Captain America owns Captain America's shield. And I'm like, no. And I pulled out my whiteboard that I keep in my ass.
Oh, no.
And I explained to her the whole conversation that we had. I'm like, look, when you're in the military, and the military issues you a fucking M16, you don't get to take the M16 home last time I checked. You can't just give it to somebody. And she's like, I think it's rude that you're firing back at me with facts. And it's not the first time I've heard someone say that to me, especially a woman. So.
Oh my. Oh my.
What?
Oh my.
You know,
yeah,
right?
That's great. That is great stuff right there. I'm glad at least it gets mentioned. I'm happy.
Yes. It is now. Put this on the bingo card, Andrew.
Yes.
Referencing Captain America's shield. Anywho. So yeah, the 3-hour Black Panther one, slightly less than that, was me and David Wright mostly talking about The Critical Drinker and finding some time to talk about Rings of Power. Hey, Jesse, you did some shit on Monday. You want to talk about it?
I did indeed. Listen, 1992 hit. The Punisher went over into Europe, and he went on a European vacation of sorts. He ran into some trouble with the Kingpin and a contracted killer named Snakebite, and the 7-issue series titled Euro hit Punisher Comics at that point in time. So it was me, Dean, and Derry sat down. All three of us had a good time discussing all the fun that Frank Castle had over there across the pond. So check that out. That happened on Unspoken Issues this past Monday.
I just listened to your show of, I think it was the X-Men and Star Trek, and you had some broad on. That was fun. That's how far back I am, though.
Well, I'm glad you're catching up there. That would be Dean's significant other right there. Dean's girlfriend came on.
That's the broad?
Yeah, okay. that would be the lady that came onto my show, Mark Radulich. That would be her.
That's good. I'm glad she was a very educated broad. Tell Dana said hi.
Right.
This is why Jesse only records with me once a month, because I get him in trouble. You can tell me to go fuck myself. It's fine. And then over the previous weekend, we re-aired our Jason Bourne shows, the DMU Hollywood for the 2016 Jason Bourne, and then the Long Road to Ruin for the Bourne and the Bourne Legacy, the Bourne Conundrum, the Bourne Pickle, the Bourne Again, all of it. Next week, Jesse is dropping a Garbage Pail Kids source material.
I am, as a matter of fact. That's going to be fun. You guys tune in, check it out. If you like Garbage Pail Kids, try to figure out how they turn that into a superhero concept in 2022.
Alexis Hana is, I think, going to have Zachary Strobel on, and they're going to do the Wonderful Seasons of Mickey Mouse, because I ain't doing that shit no more. Tuesday, I'm going to see Five Finger Death Punch. Wednesday, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Wednesday, we're re-airing our Damn You Hollywood for the Moana movie from a few years ago. And then in the evening time, we're going to be reviewing The Menu. And then Thanksgiving Day. You know what I'm doing on Thanksgiving, Jesse?
I know exactly what you're doing on Thanksgiving.
Recording with you. But aside from that, you know what else I'm doing?
Tell me.
My son thinks that it's now a yearly tradition that we do an alternative commentary on Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay. All right. That sounds great.
So I Googled a list of Thanksgiving movies to watch, and we made our choice. You want to know what our choice is?
How in the world is this a Thanksgiving movie?
It's a holiday movie, apparently. Paul Blart Mall Cop. Jonas watched the trailer for this, and it was like, this one. This is the one. We will take it home.
He's not. Has he seen it before?
No.
Okay.
But he's 8, and physical comedy is appealing.
Oh, it's going to be good for him. He's going to love it. He's going to love it.
Look, last year was Ben fucking Hur, okay? We watched 2 hours of that to get to the goddamn get to the killing of the horses. We lost a lot of good horses.
This is a little bit different than that, that's for sure.
Oh, no, that was Easter earlier this year. That's what it was.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't remember what we did. Oh, Thanksgiving last year. Fuck. You know what it was? Me and him did a triple feature. That's what it was. We did all them holiday movies. We did the Home Alone Disney Plus movie. We did that the video game movie thing from HBO Max, and then something else.
Okay.
Clifford. That's what it was. Clifford the Big Red Dog.
The Big Red Dog.
So yeah, he was just like, I don't need to be doing a review. I told him he should start his own podcast because he's brilliant. And he's like, when I'm 18, I'm fucking 8, you asshole. All right.
Priority.
Yep. All right. Anything? What else you got going on, Jesse?
Oh, that's about it. I think Evan and I are going to be recording some stuff here pretty soon, right after we record our discussion on Thanksgiving about Slayer, Sleigher. Evan and I are going to be recording a future episode celebrating the life and times of Stan Lee by looking at a few of his comics from back in the day. So that's way out in the agenda at some point, I think in December. So other than that, that's it. I don't really have much else that's going on.
All right, folks, next month, as a matter of fact, December 29th. December 29th.
Wow, we got a long time to go. That's
yeah. Well, we got December 1st is the Crown. December 8th is the Whiskey Rebellion. Hey, guess what we're gonna do on the Whiskey Rebellion?
Tell me.
We're gonna talk about what it's like to be a man who's in the polyamory community.
We've done this for a long time already. We're going to continue to talk about it.
Officially, yes. Because when we talked about it, it was unofficial.
Okay, this is official now.
Look, you don't understand. You don't understand.
You need a fan there, Mark. You getting a little catching the vapors there, sir. Go ahead.
Men, Jesse, reach out to me.
Okay.
They ask me for my advice, for my wisdom over these past few months that I've gained. And so I want to share my wisdom through the podcast with these people. And so it's there.
I don't blame you.
So it's there for them to listen to at their leisure and go back to whenever they need a calm, assuring voice like myself to say, it's going to be okay. It's fine. Your wife is terrible. They're all terrible. But I'm here for you. Mark is here.
Oh, this will be a fun conversation. I can't wait to hear about it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so you know what? Now that I know about it's going to be on the agenda, I might as well just start getting my questions together.
That's why I told you ahead of time, Mr. Cuties. Remember that?
Oh, I do remember
the movie you refused to watch, but boy, did you have a lot of questions about?
Just watch the thing yourself. No, let me ask you questions.
Yes. So that's because Melissa asked, was like, how is the fuck is Jesse and Rob going to participate in this conversation with you and Jeff when they're not, in the E&M poly community? And I'm like, you've apparently never done a podcast with Jesse before. That motherfucker's got questions.
I'll ask some questions.
You ask him questions. Yeah, Robin will just make jokes. That's fine. That's what he's there for. So anyway, we got the Whiskey Rebellion on the 8th. Jason and I are going to talk the Anaconda series on Long Road to Ruin. We got a boxing podcast. Going to be me, Pat, and Gavin in theory. That's Diego Corrales versus Jose Luis Castillo. It's one of the 5 things in the world that Gavin still likes. And then here we are, December 29th, right before New Year's, baby. We're going to jam it in at the wire. Season 5, the finale. Jimmy McNulty's serial killer.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Excited?
What am I in for? My gosh.
The most depressing finale in the history of television.
Wow.
You think the corner makes you cry. You ain't seen shit.
If that happens, I mean, wow, that is stepping up some game.
Mm-hmm.
Because the corner was rough.
Yeah. we're gonna need a palate cleanser. After that is Generation Kill.
Yeah. I have no idea what I'm in for there.
Neither have I. I've never seen Generation Kill. I last year our Veterans Day show was Band of Brothers, and I'd never seen that either, and that got rough at the end. So, all right, we for an hour podcast, we've now done 22 minutes of bullshit. So here we go. Be well, be safe, and in Be More, we aim to hit a nigga. You heard?